All right, hello everybody, friends and enemies, heroes and villains. Welcome to Epic Realms. That's how we open it. Of course, our faces are flip flop. Let me fix this on the Zoom. There we go. It's been a crazy day, but we are joined by amazing author Chris Jackson. He does some amazing pirate books. He does amazing sci-fi books. He's done Shadowrun. He's done God. You've done so many things. I
Yeah,
couldn't even sit here and list them all off the top of my head because there's so many. And you are the author of The Last, which is this new post-apocalyptic book. And that cover is really cool. It kind of
it
gives me
is.
Highlander vibes. Of course, I've got my Zoom thing. You know what? I'm just gonna undo that. I don't care if people see my background. There we go. None. There we go. People can see my fish and my wrestling boots and my Funko Pops. But yeah, there it
Yeah.
is. The Last by Chris A. Jackson. Obviously, we had this signed by you at Gen Con. I saw you at Gen Con. How was your Gen Con?
It was phenomenal. Yeah, really, really good. Gen Con's always one of our favorites because it's like all gamers, and it's always kind of surprising to us that so many people that are there for the gaming and all the new stuff out, and the art and everything else are also readers. I mean, we've had our best sales in any convention at Gen Con, which that beat out Dragon Con, which Dragon Con's like massive.
Yeah, I haven't been to
Uh,
Dragon Con yet. It's on my list.
yeah, it's huge. It covers many, many hotels. It's not like in a convention center,
Okay.
but uh, but yeah, Gen Con's definitely one of our favorites. So, and that's the convention where I got into writing for RPGs. So,
Oh, okay.
yeah.
So did you meet all the game designers and stuff there for RPGs?
Well, I kind of knew what I wanted to do before I went the first time. I knew that Paizo was putting out Pathfinder Tales, and I knew that at the time that they didn't have, at least they didn't currently have anybody writing pirate stories, and I just come off of a 4 book pirate series, and so I pitched myself to James Sutter, and I just got phenomenally lucky, and about not quite a year later, but 10 months later, he had somebody fall out of his schedule and couldn't produce a novel, and said, "Hey, if you can give me a novel in 5 months, it's yours." And I said, "Okay."
Yeah, you did,
Hell yeah.
and that's how you and I got to know each other because I had you on for a show to promote those books. Like
The
I was like, that's where I first heard of you. I was like, these are phenomenal
Yep.
pirate
Well,
books. Like because I've listened and read all of the Pathfinder Tales novels, and like I was like, man, this is some of my favorite characters because there's so many amazing characters in those series. Yeah, and you write different characters. All of your books have like cool characters that always just kind of come in. You're like, gosh, I hope if they make more books of this, I hope that character comes back or this character shows up.
yeah, I've had people say, "Well, I really want this story of this secondary or tertiary character to become the pirate captain and stuff like that." Well, I'm not probably going to write that,
Right,
but
right.
but it's fun. It is a lot of fun.
And you did and of course we've talked about your Weapon of Flesh series in the past as
Oh,
well.
yeah,
And
and that's to plug my
yeah,
doings here. This just came out on Audible, and I could not be happier.
nice.
Yeah, the guy who did it for me, Ryan Reed, he's just a genius. He does all the voices individually, all the accents. He's just phenomenal. I am so pleased with that.
And you said
Uh,
his name is Ryan Reed. Okay.
Ryan Reed, yeah,
I mean, I
art.
may not be writing his name down specifically for a possible future guest because I like getting my Audible narrators on the show as well.
Yeah, he's brilliant. He's brilliant.
Awesome.
Um,
And those of you that are in the chat, feel free to interact. Feel free to chat if you've got a question for Chris. Chris has written so many stuff. You can see some of his pictures up right here on right between us. There goes the Shadowrun Crocodile Tears and Arkham
yeah.
Horror and the Pirate's Truth and the Iron Kingdoms books. So many books. Do you have a book that's like one of like you just look back and you're like, gosh, I have nostalgia for my own book?
Oh yeah. Well, the Weapon of Flesh series for sure. I just totally that was something very, very different that took off for us and really changed our lives. So I've got a lot of sentimental feelings for that. But I do like the Paizo characters too, Celeste and Torius,
Okay.
especially Snick,
Yeah.
the little gnome. She's
Yeah.
hilarious. Um, but this new book, The Last, I'm just it came out of nowhere. I just kind of had this idea in my head. I'd never written anything like post-apocalyptic. I've written some science fiction now and things like that too. I have a series with Shadow Alley Press that's doing reasonably well.
Okay.
And that's hard science fiction, far future stuff. But this is like near future, post-apocalyptic, climate apocalypse, and just very, very different. It's kind of post-apocalyptic fantasy, if you
Okay.
want to go there, but not like fairies fantasy. It's very different. You have to kind of buy into my little mythology. But
Right. Well, that's kind of like any book.
yeah,
You have to buy into a story,
right,
or when
yeah,
you're watching TV, it's like, you watch, if you don't watch the first, year or two of the Marvel movies, when you get to the
right,
last one, it's like, oh, come on, really? That's far fetched. But
yeah,
when you start with Iron Man and you work your way up, and they slowly just build and grow, it's like, okay, it makes sense. But if you watch the last Avengers, like, how does that outfit work? That doesn't make any logical sense. But
right.
you buy in, and as you do it, you grow, and it makes sense. So
You know, that's one of the big reasons that the series Firefly series kind of tanked is because they didn't open with the premiere.
right, yeah, they didn't keep them in order. Oh, so
It's like
I
what?
was quoting Firefly earlier today.
Yeah, yeah. That was the biggest shoot yourself in the foot moment in the Sci-Fi Channel. That it was just atrocious.
Right. Well, and it's like, and if you look back, it is such a beloved series
Oh, it really
by
is.
the
It really has
people.
a huge
What,
following.
once anybody who watches it in order is like, oh my God, that was amazing.
So yeah, when was the last time you had a series that went one season, got canceled, and then they made a movie?
Right.
You
Right.
know what I mean?
Exactly.
That just doesn't happen.
Yeah.
Well, fans came out and said, "We need something, please."
Yeah. Because it was, I mean, it was an amazing, fun science fiction show.
Yeah,
It was its own thing. It's not like,
right.
Star Trek and Star Wars, they have stuff, and a lot of places kind of steal from that, but they really did kind of their
Yeah,
own thing, and they had their own, it had its own sense of humor, it had its own like uh, uh I don't want to say pathing, but its own like rhythm and timing, I guess, to the
yeah,
way it was done. So
hmm,
it
yeah,
was very much like this old west in space sort of situation.
hmm, yeah.
So
It was really fun.
are you going to have more books in this series?
Oh yeah, this is a trilogy, the War of Souls trilogy. It's not to give too much away, but it is like I said, near future, about 2070-ish.
Okay.
Climate apocalypse, so the sea levels have risen a lot. But that's not the mythology fantasy element of it. The catchphrase is there's been a war on earth between heaven and hell for 5,000 years,
Okay.
and hell is winning. Um, and there's only one warrior for the good guys left, or so she at least thinks so, and she is the last of her kind.
Oh, okay.
Um, and when she goes, we go, because if hell wins, the four horsemen come and just wipe the planet clean.
Ugh.
So if they do away with her and corrupt every last human being on the planet, adios muchachos. So
Okay.
no pressure, right?
Yeah, that's not
And
terrifying or anything.
what was really fun about this is I got to dig into history and cherry pick really cool things to be her past because she's been around for 5,000 years.
Right.
And she's also got 5,000 years of PTSD. She's seen the Roman Empire, she's seen Egypt during the Pharaohs, she's seen Nazi Germany, she's seen the Inquisition, lived through all of it, and been everything from a pirate to a princess.
Right.
And so there's a lot of baggage there because she's tasked with like saving humanity, right? And she's just seeing it devolve into chaos and ruin, and it's kind of ruining her. You know what I mean?
That's awesome.
But there's always hope, right?
Yeah. Lyric Law says that Firefly only made a movie because of the fans. The only reason they made a movie was because of the fans.
That's
Period. End of subject.
absolutely true. That's absolutely true. The outcry was just like, wait, you're going to cancel the best show on television? Are
Right.
you high?
Right.
But it was already a done thing by the time the fans heard about it. It was already a done thing.
Right.
These days, Netflix would have picked that up in a heartbeat.
Oh yeah, Netflix or Hulu or Amazon or
Amazon or HBO or anybody would have picked it up in a heartbeat. But that was back in the day, unfortunately.
I heard a rumor that there's going to be
A reboot.
like a reboot or a new series or something. It'll take place afterwards or something like that along those lines for Firefly. And I don't know how that'll work. If
Right. They've they've kind of been fielding that rumor for a long time. There was some ideas of I don't know if it ever came off for an animated
Oh, that would
version.
be cool. Because then all the actors could reprise their roles, except for the dead
Yeah.
ones, of course.
Well, there was even thoughts of having Wash show up as like a ghost,
Oh,
you know, and not to plague anybody, but to just whisper in their ears at the right moment or whatever, you know.
yeah.
Uh,
Interesting.
but yeah, that would be I'd watch it. Hell,
Right, right. Are you watching anything right now these days? Anything big on your watch list?
we're watching The Rings. The Rings of Power, and I'm enjoying it. But I have my moments and I have my, oh, come on, really? Um, but I've been getting back into the whole lore of the rings thing. And there's some really good YouTubers out there that just make it simple. It's like, this is why the One Ring rules them all, da 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 da, the whole history of the rings and stuff like that.
Right.
But two movies I watched recently. One, in fact, just this afternoon. The one this afternoon was Amsterdam.
Okay.
It's kind of a whodunit crime political comedy,
Okay.
and it's set in the 30s in New York, and it's just brilliant. Just
Is
go
it
see it.
anything like Clue?
Not quite. No, no. It's I don't know how to. It's hard. It's a hard one. But prior to that, last weekend we went and we watched The Woman King, which was a sensational movie.
I've heard nothing but amazing things
Oh
about that
man,
movie.
really high emotion through the whole thing. I mean, there are just out of your seat moments
Oh
where you
wow.
just want to scream and cry and yell and cheer and
So
weep,
it gives you all of the emotions.
the whole gamut.
That's
It was brilliantly done. So, not entirely historically accurate, but who
right.
cares? It's
Right, but it's a movie. It's hard. It's hard when you're doing a movie to
right, yeah.
keep
So,
everything, because then it'd be called a documentary, not a movie.
right, exactly. It's like writing historical fantasy. It's like, that's why I don't do it. It's that, even the historical elements I put into The Last, I mean, I've done so much research to get it right. You know what I
Right.
mean? To make sure I'm getting all the details right. Um,
How do you
yeah,
do
it,
research? Do you have like a website you go to? Do you ask people? Do you go to libraries and like, you know, index
just
cards?
no massive Googling, and also a lot of Google Maps stuff. Like histories of wars, and there's the coolest timeline um, map progression of like how all the borders change and morph during World War II, how Germany expands in Russia and worldwide, things like that are really cool. And there's, especially for this novel, there's a site called what is it? Sea level rises and stuff like that. But anyway, you can map anywhere in the world down to like the city block, um, what land would be covered if the sea rose, 5 meters, 6 meters, 10
Right.
meters, 50 meters. And so I had a lot of fun with that. I got to drown Manhattan and then do a car chase through it.
How do you do? Wait? How do you do a car chase if it's all under what is?
Well, parts of it aren't.
Okay.
You know, Manhattan is an island now, but it's really an island in
Okay.
my. But so yeah, it's a pretty cool car
So
chase.
is it set just in one location, or does it bounce
Well,
around? Or
it's kind of a road trip
okay.
actually. It starts in Cincinnati and then they go out west and then they go all the way back to Manhattan and then they go back to Cincinnati. So a lot of road miles.
Is there one central like protagonist in it?
Yeah, the primary character, her name is Empa, but she goes by many aliases, and she's the offspring of Raphael, the angel of healing,
Okay.
and so her magic, if you want to call it, or gift, is to heal people. And she can heal psychological injuries, she can heal diseases, and she can heal physical injuries. But what happens is she takes them into herself. So if she tries to heal somebody that's been shot through the heart, she takes that injury. It could imperil her life. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? But she can't heal things that are like inherently genetic, like for instance, autism or things like that. But when it comes to things like cancer or infections, things
Yeah.
like that, just take
Like
them away.
PTSD.
Right. Well, yeah, injury. She can root out the base guilt or something like that and take that away.
Okay.
But it's kind of a there's kind of a question on whether to do that or not because there's the whole consent thing because people are what their makeup is, their own histories are.
Yeah.
So if you take away too much from somebody, you're going to be changing who they are. It's kind of a little bit intrusive.
Yeah.
So she's always kind of like, unless this is a life and death scenario right now, it's all about consent.
Yeah.
I can help you, but you have to let me. You have to ask me. You have to let me in.
Yeah.
So, which freaks some people out, kind of.
Well, yeah, because I mean, even in normal history, when you look at pop culture, it's like, okay, well, you have to like vampire can't come in your house unless you let them in,
Through the door, right? Yeah.
right? Invite me and I'll come in, and that can like if somebody shows up at my door, that I have no idea, and they're like, "May I come in?" It's like, no, slam the
Hell,
door shut.
I know. Hell no. But yeah, so and a big part of her problem is the bad guys, the Nephilim, which are the offspring of the fallen angels.
Yeah.
There's 200 of them, and because hell cheats in the War of Souls, their number never diminishes. No matter how many times you kill them, they just respawn. And so they're hunting her, and so technology's really kind of been the dagger through her and her
Oh,
cousins, because they've been doxxed, they've been assassinated, everything else like that. And
yeah.
once they're gone, well, they go to heaven and get their just rewards. But I got the whole idea because sometimes it seems like the world is so screwed up in so many ways everywhere. I just kind of thought, what if you could point your because it's something you can't point your finger at and say they're responsible. Those are the ones right there. But what if there was? What if it's been hell corrupting mankind for 5,000 years? And that's why we are where we are now. And that's kind of the secondary protagonist thing is he's a street kid and he's never had a break. And he's never been able to fight anything.
Right.
Effectively. It's like shaking your fist at the sky. It doesn't do any good. And now he finds out that, wait, what? Somebody's responsible for this? I can kick somebody's ass? Let's go.
Yeah.
Because he's got nothing to lose, absolutely zero to lose. And so the two of them, her hope is crushed, and he gives her a little bit of hope, because if somebody who's hopeless can get hope, well, maybe you should too, right?
Yeah, for sure.
But it's fun. It's a real rollick and lots of gunfire.
How many like are there ally characters? Is it kind of just a solo character and then other people show up and come and go?
It's her and her other primary, and there's a couple others. And there's a little bit of a love interest involved too, not between those two, but it's complicated. I don't want to ruin anything.
Yeah, don't ruin it.
But it's and I'll take that even farther in the next book. I have already taken it. I just finished the first draft of the second one. Okay. So, which is paradoxically titled The First.
Okay, yeah. So the last and then the first. Nice. Stephen the Shark is gonna lurk. He's got some D&D time. See you later, Stephen. Thank you for joining us. Hey. Go and enjoy your D&D time. We'll be playing some D&D here later after Chris is done with us. Chris, I almost me and the guy that's running that are doing stuff after you left, he's like, well, just ask Chris if he wants to play too. And I was like, I'm already taking up an hour of his time. I don't know.
If you want to line something up sometime, I mean, tonight's kind of spoken for after this, but
right.
I'm more than happy to play. I don't play enough straight up RPGs anymore.
Yeah, when we originally did this, so obviously I canceled, as you recall. I got sick and I couldn't do it, and that's when he was like, you should see if Chris can join. And then of course when we rescheduled, I didn't even think to ask. But that's originally like we had you on, and it was because we were still putting together the schedule and seeing, okay, when is the schedule going to come in? And it was like, okay, were we gonna have you on earlier or later? Was the role playing gonna? I didn't have it, and I have a character that I started for like a one shot. That's he is the he's a priest of Velker, who in Forgotten Realms Velker is the sailing god. And
Sure.
I thought, boy, wouldn't that be funny if, like, we could get Chris back to back because you do all those amazing, sailing novels, and then for
Yeah.
us to follow up with a role playing game where I'm playing a sailor. I was like, that's kind of funny. And he goes, "Well, just see if Chris wants to play it. I'll run for a third one because I know Chris GM or Chris role plays." I'm like,
Oh yeah. Yeah, yeah.
yeah,
I'm
but
actually
he's busy, and this was kind of last minute. And then of course we rescheduled it, and I didn't even think to ask. So
I'm actually writing for a gaming company now, Archvillain Games, writing game content, world building stuff.
okay,
Uh, so Archvillain Games is in Greece, and they got started just creating miniatures, 3D printed miniatures, and they are amazing. Y'all need to look it up, Archvillain Games, because if you're part of their Patreon, you get patterns for 3D printed minis, and just they are astounding.
I have her
So
business card here somewhere too. I think I met
yeah,
her. She was at Gen Con, right?
they were at Gen Con, yeah.
Because Eric's working with them too, isn't he?
Yes, Eric and a few others. My editor of my first pirate series, the Blood Sea, no, not the Blood Sea Tales. Which one was it? Scimitar series. Kind of
Scimitar Moon, right?
yeah, Scimitar Moon and the others. Gabrielle Harboway is editing for the series.
Yeah, there it
Uh,
is.
and now they're writing game content. Yeah, now
It
they're
was a
writing
little
game.
blurry. That's good though, because it was their business card.
So I got to write their Pirate Kingdom, which is way fun.
That's gonna be awesome. Do you know what the system is kind of like? Is it something you can talk about
It's
at all?
5e. It's 5e compatible.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Nice. I'm excited now. Now I'm excited. So I only played a little bit. I only dabbled because we did so much. We had long term games
Right.
and we were like 5e came out. It's like we're not even halfway through three of our campaigns.
Right.
So we've closed up one, two, three, four of our long term RPG campaigns, and some of them we're here on stream.
Right.
And I'm like, I'm gonna start doing fifth edition. Like, I want to play the system. I like the system, and I just
Yeah.
haven't gotten a ton of time in. So,
Right. Yeah, I actually got a chance to play test one of their early releases and at Dragon Con with my editor and Eric and a couple other people who were writing there. So that was a lot of fun.
and what was the name of the company again, so people can look it up?
Archvillain Games.
Arch Villain Games.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
Arch. I'm gonna get a link for people here.
I don't have a card here for them, unfortunately.
It's okay. I've got a link. I will
Awesome.
post.
Yeah, do post that.
Boom. Arch Villain Games right
They've
there.
got some of the coolest minis out. They're just astounding. And they're mixing a lot of stuff in, kind of Cthulhu-esque, things and deep sea monsters and shark people. So I'm having a lot of
So
fun.
do you have to come up with like key characters and stuff too, or are you just like coming up with like the ships and the locations and adventures and stuff?
Basically a whole pirate kingdom. It's not really a kingdom, it's more like a pirate council.
Okay.
So there are 13 commodores in the pirate kingdom, and so once a year they get together and they argue a lot, and so they're about as organized and cooperative as a shark attack, and but it's all through this long archipelago of islands that is kind of between point A and point B on the big map. So
Okay.
they feed a lot of ship traffic, commerce, right?
Yeah.
They also, and Eric Scott DeBee is doing this thing on basically the East India Company in this world is called the Scytholian League.
Okay.
And they're everywhere too. And they, as often happens, have cut a deal with the pirates.
Okay.
So, you don't hit our ships, but you might go hit these ships over here. So there's tribute back and forth and a bunch of tomfoolery going on. So a lot
Nice.
of fun, a whole lot of fun.
So do you have to do some play testing? So you got to sit down and be like, okay, let's see if this works, and you start playing some D&D.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. But it was a lot of fun. But we definitely got to and here are our comments. Here are the wrinkles that this is a slow patch, and this is a little bit overpowered for a fifth level character, and stuff like that. But anyway, it was
You know,
lots of fun.
years ago, the guy who's GMing tonight, he goes by the name of the Blind GM here, and he came up with a kind of a campaign world, and he actually wrote a little. He did a PDF. It was 3 for 3.5, but it was a PDF. He started a PDF book, and he was going to put it on Drive Through RPG. I don't think it ever got around, but it was we called it the 10,000 Islands campaign setting, and we
Cool.
literally had classes and stuff. And he wrote we both wrote short stories for it. I actually built a card game. It's sitting downstairs. It's in the playtest. It's been in playtest for 10 years, but I haven't pulled it out probably in 5.5.
Yeah,
Um, but yeah, it was 10,000 Islands, and it's very very similar to kind of what you're talking about, where it's like all of these islands, and there was we the idea was, because if you look at traditional D&D, it's almost always good versus evil, right?
right. Hmm.
But then when you watch a lot of like especially like the Pirates of the Caribbean movies, it's less good versus evil, and it's more law versus chaos.
There's a lot of gray areas in there too, right?
Right.
And the good guys weren't always good.
Right.
Yeah.
So it was more based off of law versus chaos. So like
Right.
if you were lawful, it didn't matter if you were good or evil, as long as you were
Right.
lawful. And if you were, chaotic, it didn't matter if you were good or evil either. So like the pirates sort of side of it were all the chaotic people, and then because you don't see that so much in role playing, the law versus chaos.
Yeah,
Uh,
I
uh,
actually ran a series or a campaign for some friends, just a homebrew game.
yeah.
That was exactly that. It was law versus chaos. It was basically lawful evil versus chaotic good.
Okay.
Um, so yeah, I had a lot of fun with that.
Nice. That's
Yeah.
great. Yeah. I mean, we could probably sit here and talk role playing all day long.
I don't know if I ever told you this. I actually got my start writing by GMing. I in grad school I ran a campaign for some friends. One of whom now is my wife. That's how we met. And that campaign lasted 2 years. And when I was done, I had a stack of source materials, of course, everything. This just one little section of my whole current world. That I have it all mapped out now. It's all on my website, so go look at it. Uh,
Nice. That's awesome.
yeah.
And that's
So
jacksbooks.com's everyone.
yeah,
Jack's
correct.
Books. I put the link in the chat, but if you're just joining us,
Yeah.
you can go there and you can get all your books there, right?
Yeah. We have everything listed, and the whole map is there. But when we were done, I didn't want to just throw it all away, and I wasn't really a game designer, so I couldn't really design a game around it because at the time it was in D&D. Oh my God, 2.0, 2 point
Yeah, second
something.
edition.
Yeah, second edition.
AD&D.
Yeah, AD&D. And and so and my wife just said, "Well, why don't you just write it up as a novel?" And so long story short, it turned into a trilogy, the Cornerstones trilogy, which is out in print now. But it wasn't initially, it was pretty rough, of course, because I'd never written anything of Lynch
Right.
before. And but it was a hell of an exercise. Once you've written like 200,000 words, you get past the whole I can't run thing.
Right.
And so that gave me the chops to turn out three more novels: Death Mask, Sulfur Sting, and this one right here, Weapon of Flesh. And this one has changed our lives. That series kept us alive or kept us sailing actually for
Yeah.
6 years. So couldn't be happier how it all turned out.
So
All because
were you sailing before you started writing?
no, I was writing before that, much before that, but sailing actually gave me a lot more time to write, of
Yeah.
course. And that was when I got the gig with Paizo, writing pirate books for them, and I was finishing up a series, the Scimitar Seas novels,
Okay.
and then the weapon books took off. The first one took off, and we promptly wrote five more, and those literally paid our bills for 6 years. So,
Man, that's
um,
amazing.
granted, we're not going through money much when we're just out sailing around, but
Yeah.
um,
It's not
no,
like
that
you're going to movies and buying extra stuff and
well, it kept the boat in maintenance and kept us fed and entertained, and plane trips back to the States every year to do conventions and stuff like that, rental cars, the whole bit. So it's not like we were poor.
right.
Uh, but yeah, I was flabbergasted.
And there's six books in your Weapon of Flesh series, right?
There are 6 books in that series. Yeah,
Are you going to get them all on Audible, or just see how
definitely,
it does?
definitely the first 3. In fact, we're up to sign a contract with Brian for the second one. He's super excited, um, and we'll see how they sell.
And if
All
they do
right.
good, do you think you'll be getting into like the Bloodsea Tales and some of the other stuff, maybe?
Absolutely. I love how he does voices. He's just amazing. And I mean, you know me, I'm never going to stop writing.
Right.
Um, well, not never, of course.
You're never going to
Yeah,
stop writing as long as you can
right
keep
from the
writing.
grave. Bury me with my laptop,
Right.
and then the website goes clickety clickety click. Watch Dead Chris write.
You just have to learn how to like affect electronics when you're
Right.
from the
Yeah.
other side
From the other side. Right.
to keep typing. Okay, so if you were a ghost, where would they find you? Would you be found at your home? Would you be found on a ship? Where would you be found?
Oh, I probably haunt the Caribbean. I just love it down there.
Yeah. Do you still have
Yeah.
plans? Like, I know you're not sailing anymore. Do you still have plans to like take trips down there, like take a plane or whatever to go?
Oh, yeah. As a matter of fact, this winter we're taking a trip down to Roatan. One of my things is I don't like the cold. Um, I just I don't know if it's age creeping in or whatever, but my hands and feet go numb, and I just don't like it. So January and February we're going to be in Roatan. We
Okay.
rented a house for a couple of months, and it's 100 yards from the beach, coral reef. I mean, we've been to Roatan before, but not the north coast where we're going. And I'm just going to soak up some sun and some salt water and some rum and take it easy.
Rum.
Yeah, and right, of course, because I know never stop. But
Gotcha.
yeah, we have plans to do some longer distance traveling because crossing oceans would never really my thing.
Right.
I'm not going to spend 8 to 10 weeks crossing the Pacific because
Yeah.
boring. I got better things to do. I'll fly. If I want to go to New Zealand, I'll just jump on a plane.
Right.
You know,
We got
but
Chatterkin
really,
in. Sorry I'm late. I just woke up a little bit ago. Too much partying for a sick girl last night. Well, thank you for joining us, Penny. Welcome in. We're just sitting here hanging out with Chris Jackson, just chatting. We're chatting about sailing right now and his trips around the world. What kind of rum do you like? Do you have a specific, or is it just like whatever rum?
no, I like good rum. Kraken is really good rum.
Okay.
Kraken makes a black strap that's really sweet, really good. But top of the line rum is and it's in not Honduras, but Guatemala. Um, Zapata. Yeah,
Zabata.
Zapata.
Okay, I've not tried that one. I've tried every single rum I can run across. Zabata. I'm writing that down.
No, Zapata. Zapata.
Okay. No, you know what? Now that I write that down, I think I have. No, I'm thinking Zaya rum. I've had.
It's not cheap, but man, it's good.
Have
This
you
is
tried
not.
Foursquare?
No, I have to
Foursquare
write.
is a Barbados rum distillery. They make that's my suggestion to you. I will never not suggest Foursquare rum. They have a seasonal. It's a mark. It's usually mark whatever. So they only make so many in a batch, um, and they're amazing. They usually range from anywhere from, I think they range from like 75 to like 300 depending on your price range. But dear God, I will spend $150 on a bottle of
Right,
Foursquare rum. And they make some
right,
cheaper
yeah,
stuff. If you ever run across Dorley's, Dorley's is one of their cheaper ones, which is also really good. And it's not spiced rum; it's just regular
nope,
regular
yeah,
rum. So
yeah.
I'm not a spice. I can't.
Both of these.
What's that?
I said both of these are just straight rum.
Okay, nice.
But
Yeah,
yeah,
and I'm not a fan of spiced rum
yeah,
anymore, just because being a celiac, they put additives in it afterwards. So anything where they add flavor after the fact, and
yep,
you probably know this, a lot of places they don't. It's not like a whiskey where it's moderated and they pay attention. They have all these things that they have to follow. They just like they'll take rum and a lot of
right,
places will just like pour sugar in it afterwards and sell it. I think Bumbu
right,
is a cheap one right now that everybody loves because they just jack so much sugar in there after the distilling process. It's like,
right.
it's pre-made cocktail,
Yes,
sweet.
Cherry is one like that, right? Yeah. But I got turned into a really good Irish whiskey recently
Oh yeah,
yeah, it's called Teeling, Teeling. And it's not hugely expensive. But man, for an Irish whiskey, it's really complex. It's really a lot going on there. You kind of have, when you first taste it, it's sweet, but then it mellows, and then all these flavors come out, and then it finishes like clean, really nice.
nice. You know what?
Yeah.
So when we came down to Gen Con this year, I was like, we're gonna go to Gen Con and I'm gonna get tickets and all that, and then financial stuff hit. But before that, I was like, I'm gonna do all this stuff and we're gonna go to Gen Con. I'm like, I'm gonna buy a good bottle of Rhine and I'm gonna separate into little bottles and I'm gonna make sure I bring some for Chris. And then we didn't end up going until like 2 weeks beforehand, and one of our
Right.
not video board game friends who runs Fight in a Box Games, which we have some giveaways
Right.
tonight. We've given some of his pins away. We've got Mouse Cheese Cat Cucumber for the viewers. We've gave away a T-shirt. But he let us come and work at the booth. He's like, if you can drive down here, I've got a hotel room for you, and I've got a badge for you, and then you can come and work at the thing. I was like, yes, I will do that. I will do that.
Yeah, just a room is worth, a lot of money. So
I was so surprised. I thought we were just going to get like a hole in the wall. I thought I was going to be sleeping in a bathtub or something, and I was fine, with that. Throw some blankets in a bathtub and a pillow, and or on a cot. And we get there, and we're like the top floor suite. There was an upper level and a lower level. I was like, how the hell did we get this room?
Wow.
I mean, we were sharing it with two other people, but they're like, you can have the upstairs with the actual bed, and we'll sleep on the pull-out couch and on the air mattress. And I was like, how the F did we get? It was ridiculous. It was really amazing.
Wow, that's pretty
but
cool.
I did not expect that for just working at a game table. So
Right, yeah.
Penny in chat says Dragon Dreams looks interesting. I love Dragon books. You want to tell us about your Dragon Dreams series?
Yeah, Dragon Dreams was another thing that was pretty different for us. I do a lot of different things, kind of, put a little bit of everything and see what people like. Dragon Dreams is a science thriller. It's not fantasy. Think Michael Crichton. Think genetic changes that turn people into, well, let's just call them dragons.
Okay.
And so the gist of it is a young, brilliant paleontologist in the PhD program at Harvard is is getting a new advisor because she's been basically taken advantage of. She has social anxiety disorder, which in graduate school, trust me, been there, done that. Not being socially apt, being able to stand up for yourself is a death knell. You will be taken advantage of, which is what's happening to her. But her new advisor has something that's right up her alley. And so they pull these samples, and an actuality is that a lot of paleontology now isn't digging up new stuff. It's looking through old stuff in archives and seeing how things are miscategorized or even haven't even been looked at, cleaned up, categorized. And so they pull some samples in from Kamchatka, and one of them is just this huge block of plaster, and they don't even know what's inside of it. It's supposed to be cave bear. And they do imaging, and it's totally not cave bear. It's something they can't even identify. And so she's like excited because this is what she loves to do. So she gets a mini grant from an individual who has more money than she has sense to look into this. And so she's analyzing the sample, and she infects herself. Oh, wow. And she starts to change.
That's cool. And that's three books in that series, right? It's the Dragons of Boston series, right? And you have 3 books.
Yeah, Dragons of Boston series, Dragon Dreams, Dragon Nemesis, and Dragon Legacy. And if you're really into one shots, Falstaff Books, who's the publisher of those, has omnibus edition hardcovers of all 3. And they're limited edition. There's only 100 ever going to be printed, and they're numbered, and I would be happy to sign one.
There we go. And speaking of signing, we do have his latest book, the post-apocalyptic amazing book, The Last. He's going to be a giveaway right here on stream when we hit our when we max out. It's the last giveaway of our sub goals tonight. So we're going to be doing those. We've got the Vulcan candle is next on the giveaways. We got a Vulcan candle. We've got some puzzles, we've got some Harry Potter merchandise and collectibles, and of course we've got Chris's book signed The Last as a giveaway for our subathon today as well. So how does it this person wants to ask you, how does it feel to write from a female perspective? Is that easy, being not a female?
Well, I have been lucky enough to be married to a really wonderful woman, and 33 years married to the same woman without killing each other. And we actually started writing together.
Okay.
So I learned a lot from writing with her about the female perspective. And I've taken some heat from it, but I've also gotten some kudos for it too. I mean, I wrote the Scimitar Seas novels is primarily the main protagonist is a woman, and I won 3 sequential national awards for that series. So I think I'm doing something right.
Right.
Um, Whenever you're writing some person who is not like you, and old white guy, there's a lot of people not like me, right? Um, the primary thing is empathy, and the secondary thing you have to do is understanding. Not that I'm going to tell you I understand women, but like I said, 33 years married to a wonderful, brilliant lady has given me a lot of insight, and almost everything gets bounced off of her. Am I doing something wrong? Am I doing something right? And so she keeps me honest in that regard as well.
Yeah.
But it's a very good question, and I've had, I don't want to say knocked down, but I've had some arguments with people at conventions and on panels about writing the other. And basically, I think you don't need to limit yourself by only writing someone like yourself.
Right.
Um, and so I don't.
Your other series that's kind of recent is your fivefold novels, right?
Yeah. Mhm.
And you've got a third book coming out. Is it already out or is it still coming out?
It is out. In fact, I'm waiting for hard copies to arrive for a convention next weekend. I'm going to Atlanta, Multiverse Convention in Atlanta, Georgia, and I'm hoping I get copies in time. And that's hard science fiction, far future. And I have uh, a secondary character in that series in the third book that basically becomes a POV character as well, and she's kind of um, the love interest of the primary character. And it was interesting because we were 2 books in, and loving the series, but I just felt it like it needed a shot of estrogen. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It needed something, and we bounced it around, and some people kind of. I think there was some questions about whether I could write a female POV or not, and the answer to that is, well, go look at my books. I've got like probably 15 of them that are female POV,
Right.
at least partially, if not primary. And so, read them and you tell me if I can do it. And I think the overarching answer to that is yes, I can. And so it's really fun series. Pacifica, um, Stratos, and Vesuvia is the third one. And I was going to pull a cover. I have the cover of the third book printed out, but I forgot to bring it down,
Yeah, and I think
unfortunately.
Pacifica might show up on our scrolling images right here next to me. I think Pacifica shows up in Stratos, and I've got your website in front of me, so and you guys can go to Jack's books to check it
Right.
out and look. Do you think? Question in the chat. Do you think that stepping outside of yourself and your like gender does that seem to be helpful with personal growth and you as a human being and out in the world?
Oh, way. Oh, absolutely. Because when you really start looking at the history of that people have to and going to conventions and making friendships with people who are different sexualities, different genders, different backgrounds, different races, and different life experiences. I've had so many experiences over the years, friends who were soldiers, for instance, and so um, I have insights into that as well, that have been invaluable. But yeah, personal growth. That's you know, and young writers, go for it. Absolutely, go for it. But try to vet your if you're going to write something outside of your own wheelhouse, outside your own box. Try to do your due diligence and go out and meet people and go out and talk to people one on one. Go out and share a cocktail or go for walks or go sailing with them or whatever, just to get their take on things. You know what I
Right.
mean? And it's opened my eyes amazingly. Yes.
Nice. Do you have any other events coming up? Anything anywhere you're going to be?
Multiverse is next weekend in Atlanta. It's Multiverse, VERSE, as in, a
The
verse.
verse.
It's a very literary con. Falstaff's going to be there. A bunch of my writer friends are going to be there, and we're doing a lot of different panel discussions. But yeah, it's in the North Point Hilton Marriott near the airport. So, but if you're interested, just look up Multiverse. There will be plenty of tickets. You can walk in and get a day ticket
There's a
um,
link right there in our chat for everybody,
for that.
and it's
Especially if you're local, it's like easy peasy.
yeah, if you're in the Atlanta area, so for sure. Awesome. Do you, when you're doing some of these conventions, because you do talks and chats and stuff, do you, you sit down and they're like, hey, how to start your own, how to self-publish, let's say, and it's like you have a 2 hour talk about self-publishing, and it's you and like two other authors. Do they usually
Right.
have like a moderator doing that, or do you guys kind of self-moderate? Do you come with an outline of your own to like figure out what you want to talk about and hope the others don't talk about? Tell us a bit about that.
Yeah, generally, most good conventions have a moderator for every single panel discussions. Panel discussions generally run an hour, and the moderator will probably like ask the panelists some pointed questions. How did you get started? Would you, say, let's just say it's self-publishing. Why did you decide to self-publish? What was your first self-publish? How did it do for you? What are some of the problems with self-publishing? And so three or four panelists, those four questions could take up the better part of 40 minutes. And so the last 20 minutes or 15 minutes would be open questions for everybody.
Okay.
So, and I've done panels for everything from writing sex scenes to self-publishing to marketing to writing styles, to writing the other, for instance, somebody not yourself. So yeah, there's all kinds of. In fact, one of the ones I'm going to be moderating at Multiverse is actually selling books at conventions. How do you sell books? Because and I mentioned this to the con organizers last year. It's like I see so many, especially at like Gen Con and places like that, so many poor young writers that are there for the first year, and they just really don't have a clue as to how to
Right.
engage potential customers, readers. You know what I mean? How to get them interested. And so, yeah, I and
When
I was
people
like,
are like introverts, they have a
yeah,
hard time. And I've,
really hard.
obviously I
Yeah.
went to Gen Con. We've done other local events that I've been to and I've helped out at or worked at
Mhm.
or, been part of or stuff. And it's like if you do nothing but look down at your table
Oh
and
yeah,
you wait for somebody to come up to you, you're
right.
unless they know you, there
It's
nothing's gonna happen. You need to eye contact with everybody, invite them over, talk to them.
just engage them.
Yeah,
And everybody's different how they do that. A good example is one of my publishers, John Hartness with Falstaff, and he doesn't really stand up, but he knows when you walk up to the table. And even though he's looking at the backs of all of these books that are stacked up in front of him, he knows what you're looking at. And he'll say, that book is from this person and it's about this. And he knows all of the products and he just engages them personally. Um, Me, I ask people, are you a reader? What do you like to read?
yeah.
Um, and that's just kind of my opener. Either that or I tell them they have a really cool t-shirt or a really cool costume. I do that a lot. You'd be surprised what engages people. Just being personable,
Yeah,
which it's hard,
it is.
especially third day of a convention when your feet are killing you.
Yeah, for sure. Trying to keep your energy up, and
Yep.
you're like you're so done with it, but you're like I've still got 20,000 books sitting right here behind me.
Right. Yeah.
uh,
But it's all about it, selling books at convention is marketing. It's not really about making money. It's
right.
about engaging new readers, getting new fans, telling people what your stuff is about, just getting them interested. And you never know what's going to come out of it,
Well, right. I mean, if you see one kid who's 15 years old and they see, say, the cover of your, they see Pirate Scourge, and they go, "That looks really cool," and they buy it, and they go, "I really like it," and then they find out there's five more books or however many, I don't remember how many are in that series.
Right.
but
Right.
they go, oh, I got to get this whole series. And then they get done with the whole series and they go, God, I love this author. Does he have more books?
Right.
And that's all
Or they
because one guy walked up and you engaged with them and sold one book.
right. Right. And they tell their friends, you know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah.
So, yeah. And they write reviews, which really can kickstart things. Um, yeah, that's one thing to mention is if you know a writer and you like their work, right, go on Amazon and just write a review. Whether or not you bought the book at Amazon, whether or not you like Amazon, write a review. Just and it doesn't have to be a book. It just, a couple of lines. I really like this. He does dragons like nobody does dragons, whatever. But that's how books on the huge sea of books on Amazon rise to the top and get more interest. The more reviews you have, the more eyeballs you. So
And also, if you like an author, talk about it. If you have social media, say, hey, I was just
sure.
I read this book by this author. Tell people about it. If you keep it to yourself, you're not you know if you want more books from an author, help
Right.
other people buy the books so that they make more books, right?
Exactly that, and I mean, like, I'm never really going to stop writing books, but it helps me be energized to write the next book. You know what I mean?
Right.
If I get really good reviews, or just get feedback, which is another reason I go to conventions, is it energizes me.
Right.
So
Or like, if we can get everybody that's in chat to go and buy this book, then they'll tell people, and more people will want more books, and he'll have to write 3 more after this trilogy.
right, right.
So yeah, awesome, awesome. You got anything else you want to talk about or chat about? The stuff going on?
Um, Other than the audiobook of Weapon of Flesh and the upcoming release, because we just submitted to Amazon, the 6th book in the Bloodsea Tales, the final book of the Bloodsea Tales, Deathwalker, is coming out, is out. So that's very exciting. So there's the Pirate's Scourge, the Pirate's Truth, the Pirate's Bane, Ashwalker, Bloodwalker, and Deathwalker, and that's a done series.
Awesome. I love the covers on those books too. They just
Yeah, I got super lucky with the cover artist.
they look epic. Like when I see it, I'm like, oh my god, this looks just so amazing. You walk by it. I mean, I saw you at Gen Con and I like walk by and I'm like, God, that like every time I walk by, it's like you have all of your amazing books. And even though like some of them, like the Paizo Pathfinder Tales, I see them and I'm like, I should be drawn to that because I know it so well. But I'm like, these right here, oh my god!
Yeah,
So
yeah, yeah. I love what she's done. The cover artist's name is Fiona Jade, and she just does beautiful work. She's probably going to do my next series as well, which is in the hopper.
okay, nice,
So,
nice. For those in the chat, here's the link again: jacksbooks.com. Go ahead and go there, follow, order some books, order all of the books, order 10 of each, give them to your friends, all of that fun stuff.
yeah, I've got like 30 books out, so you might want to pace yourself.
And you can see, like, we're talking about the covers and stuff. You guys can go there and look at the covers and go, oh my god, those look really cool.
Yeah.
And everything. And there's what age category? I just want to bring it up. What age category is Cheese Runners?
PG-13.
PG-13. Okay. Every time I see it, I'm like, they're fun. They're fun.
Yeah, it's definitely guffaw humor though.
You know what I don't see on your page?
But
And maybe I'm just not seeing it. Maybe it's in an anthology, but the stuff that you and Eric both wrote with the it's kind of Cthulhu-esque.
oh, the Arkham Horror.
No,
Yeah.
not the Arkham Horror. It was a different one. It was it's like if Indiana Jones and James Bond.
Oh yeah, James Bond meets Cthulhu, right? Yeah. Those were anthologies that we did with Red Circle Productions. I really should put up a page for all of those because they're brilliant. I won a Scribe Award for the 2000 short story I did. It's the Tales of Basil and Mobius.
That's it, Basil and Mobius. That's right.
It's definitely two ne'er-do-well, thief, spy, former military guys going up against supernatural
And
stuff.
isn't it like it's like Indiana Jones and James Bond or something like that, right?
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I love it.
But it is a lot of fun to write those. And so this last one, it was me, Eric's got to be Richard Lee Byers, and Tim Zahn.
Right. Tim Zahn's the
So
only one I haven't had on the show. I need to find his contact info somewhere. And oh no, I
yeah,
did
sure.
contact him. He was super busy because he's Tim Zahn,
He's Tim's on.
and he's like, yeah, but
Yeah. But the latest one that we did, the latest one that came out was Fresh Hells, and then we just did a new one, and I can't remember. Oh, what's it called? Uh, I can't remember the title of it. But the interesting thing about these now is that all the stories aren't individual. We're writing an ongoing set of stories from different authors on the same characters. And it's really kind of tricky because it all has to mesh together nicely. And so the beauty of it is our editor and contributor, Ryan Jiffin, is brilliant and make sure we all play nice with one another. But like Eric and I, we've written together for a long time, and Richard Lee Byers and I, we've been friends for some time. So we're all on pretty good terms, and we all bend over backwards to fit. Just tell me what to write. Oh, you want that different? Not a problem.
yeah, you guys get along. Awesome.
Yeah,
I mean, there's a reason that like I had a bunch of you when we did the Game Masters workshop. Like I tried to get people together, you guys together, because you all knew each other, and it made it.
Yeah, but that's the whole thing about being a writer in today's writers world. Just being a jerk to other writers is not the way to go about this, because we all talk. And we talk to publishers. So the way to go about it is just to be personable, just like you are with your customers, your fans, everybody. Don't diss anybody. It just, unless they diss you first, and then just write them off, then just block. You know what I mean? Life is too short, and you're not doing yourself any favors by getting into fights.
Be better than them.
Yeah, just walk away.
Awesome.
Bye-bye.
Well, I appreciate you hanging out with us today.
Absolutely thrilled.
We're gonna like I said, we'll have to have you back. We'll have to do some role playing or something on stream and get you and Eric or something together. I know the blind GM's like he's like, well, I've got a spare character if Chris can play it. So, sorry, Chris has other stuff. I already asked him. He says he's got stuff going on, but we'll definitely get you back at some role playing or on the podcast. I might turn this little chat into a podcast. We'll see. I've got an open date in December, and I'm like, I don't think I want to do an interview on the day after Christmas. So maybe this will be the one. I'll definitely let you know.
Absolutely, go for it.
So, well, thank you so much for joining us, and take care of yourself. I hope you have an amazing, if I don't talk to you over the holidays, have an amazing holiday season, and stay warm down in the Caribbean while I am jealous of you in the tundra that is known as northern Minnesota.
Yep. Oh yeah. I got to run away. Run away.
All right.
All right,
for people
man.
that are in the stream, hang out, because we will be back with some role playing here in just a bit.